Hey, Pepin.
Yo, yo.
I've been thinking a lot lately about time.
Time?
Yeah, just like, time.
Like the flow of time, like how time goes on and on and on forever. How we're gonna die eventually because of time.
Well, like about how 90 seconds is the perfect amount of time.
The perfect amount of time for what?
Oh, we need to talk. Welcome back. So glad you guys could join us. I am here once again with my best friend, Nathan Pepin. How's it going, Pepin?
I'm here in the house, man.
Oh man, he's in a house. Who knew?
It's actually an apartment complex, to be honest.
Well, technically that's a house, right?
I guess. I mean, it's almost like that idea you had that one time about the house inside a house inside a house inside a house.
Wait, wait, isn't that just like a dollhouse?
Oh no! I think it was like our house episode actually.
We're
You talked about
we were talking about Russian nesting houses.
no. It's like he Lurie as House wearing like a house costume, pointing to a house or I don't know,
Painting
weird.
a picture of a house on a house. Yeah. Okay, I remember that. That's like an actual GIF online.
Yeah, you seem to be very. It's a GIF, or is it GIF?
It's GIF.
Okay, I'll accept it.
So time. I've been thinking about 90 seconds. So I play hockey on PlayStation 4 with some buddies. And every time we're in a lobby together, I send out a whole bunch of invites to people to try and fill up the lobby. And people are really, really impatient. So if I say I just sent out some invites, we need to wait until people get back to us on these. People will leave the room because they don't feel like waiting. If I say we need to wait 90 seconds, people are fine to wait because they have no concept of what that means. If I said a minute and a half, people would leave. If I say 90 seconds, they won't. And I thought that was very interesting.
Thinking about that because I, I might. Do you have any? I assume you might have some ideas to why that is.
Absolutely.
Off the top of my head, I have like two different explanations. I mean, the first is obviously like minutes. Like minute sounds like a lot. Seconds sounds like a lot less. So when you say 90 seconds, people think seconds are less. Like mentally, like oh yeah, it's like 5 seconds. If you say it's gonna be a 20th of a minute, you're kind of like, oh, okay. But they're equivalent. But a 20th of a minute sounds longer than 5 seconds.
For sure.
Like it's more relatable.
Sales guys use this technique quite a bit when they're doing loans. Instead of saying it's a, you know, 10-year loan, they'll say it's a 120-month loan. And that sounds nicer to people.
Is that why they do that?
That's why they do that, because people are more receptive to, okay, so it's this many months instead of this many years. Also, it makes it easier for people in their head to break down, okay, that I can do the math now as to what that actually means. It's basically just keeping it as simple as possible and in as small terms as possible. Now, if you said days, it'd be too many days, right? Whatever, 120 times 365, that's too many days. Now it sounds like a lot again. So you have to find the very middle, the Goldilocks zone, if you will, of time.
You're right. You're right about that. Well, like my own thinking on that is, if you tell me this is a 5-year loan, my thought is 5 years. I don't know what I'm doing in 5 years. Do I really want this loan in 5 years? Like I started thinking about 5 years in the future. But if you say 60-month loan or 60 what's the exact terminology?
Yeah, 60-month loan works.
6 month a 60-month term. I'm kind of like 60 months. Okay, so that's a little while away, but it's like my brain doesn't exactly form like an exact like time frame for that. So I'm like, oh, okay, 60 months. Okay, that sounds appropriate. Where it's 5 years, I'm thinking like about my future. 5 years from now, where will I be?
It's interesting what the connotation to certain words will do to change the entire way that you're framing and thinking about things. And that's why I kind of use those. I mean, you could say it's manipulating, but I try and be cognizant of that when I'm pitching things to people of, well, let's just give it 90 seconds and then we'll go. People love that. They fucking flip for that. They cannot get enough of the 90 seconds.
You are hard selling this 90 seconds.
But if I say I'm But if I say a minute and a half, people are like, "Oh, fuck that, I'm out." Like, why should I wait a minute and a half? And it's just really fascinating. Oh, I've already been waiting for this much time. I've already been waiting for 5 minutes. I'm not waiting another minute and a half. Versus, I've been waiting 5 minutes. I can wait 90 more seconds.
Yeah, yeah. I also think that maybe part of it is it's has to do with like goals. I assume that if you just say, "Oh, we're gonna have to wait for people to show up to the lobby," or however you say it,
Right.
I assume that people are less like if you compare that to the minute 30 second, I would assume that less people will stay with this kind of ambiguous time than with a set time.
That is to say that if I said a minute and a half, it would be better received than if I just said we have to wait.
Yeah.
Yes. No, absolutely. If you set a reasonable amount of time, 90 seconds is probably 30 seconds more than we actually need. But I say 90 because sometimes it does take those extra 10, 15 seconds. And 90 is a nice number for people. If I said 100, people wouldn't like 100 minutes. I've tried 100, I mean seconds. I've tried 100 seconds. No one's interested. 90 seconds, fucking flippin'. They are all over the 90 seconds, Nate.
I think part of it is it defines a kind of a goal in a way, because it's like your brain is kind of based on goals. Like you seek out goals and you try to achieve them, and there's a whole like SMART goal system. Like was it's like I forget what SMART stands for, but one of the things is measurable.
Yeah.
It's also specific, measurable, something.
Attainable.
But
realistic.
Obtainable.
Time.
Yeah.
Time. I made that
But
one up.
Yeah, something like that. But this is it's giving someone a goal, which is to wait, and the goal is specific because it's saying wait for this amount of time. It's not just saying wait, because when you say wait, you're kind of like, okay, for how long? Have I been waiting long enough? Is it ready yet? You start asking questions, whereas if you give someone a time frame, it kind of is specific. It kind of gives them a goal. Okay, I need to wait for 90 seconds for this to be achieved, and it's specific and it's measurable, because you can look at your watch and say, has it been 90 seconds yet? And another little aspect, you said that 110 doesn't work, or not 110, 100 doesn't work.
Right.
I think, well, that's probably because it's like not a chunk of 30. Like we think of seconds in like 15, 30, 45, 60, 90, 120, and then not much beyond that. We don't really think in seconds as much. Maybe 180 sometimes if you're like into working out and rest periods, but we don't really think in seconds beyond that. So it's within that range of seconds. And also 90 is the number where it's like if you say 1 minute, like literally 1 minute. People kind of know you're kind of brushing it off a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a cliche. And also, people will wait for that 1 minute exactly. Like it'll take you literally. Like, okay, 1 minute. Okay, it's been a minute. Fuck you.
That is to say that you're saying a minute is maybe too general, because it's also could mean an indeterminate small amount of time, colloquially.
Actually, I wasn't saying that, but you. Yeah, actually, I was saying that. But not quite consciously. Okay.
All right, retroactively take credit for that one.
Yeah, well, it's like I kind of was saying that, but very vaguely. But I was making 2 points too. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm gonna take full credit for that, Steve.
All right, it's yours. Another thing about 100 seconds. 100's too many. People don't like 100 when they want the less. So the idea here is they want the least amount of time possible, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah.
So 100, way too much. 90
Mm.
seconds. In their mind, maybe they're thinking like in time standards. Some people think in time standards where they're like, okay, that's a minute and a half. Maybe they're thinking that in the back of their head, but that's not what they're actively thinking. But a lot of people don't think that way. They're not even thinking about the time. All they're hearing is 90 seconds. Oh, it's less than 100. 100's a big number that they don't want to think about, but 90, oh, it's less than 100. That's why stores will price things at 99 cents, $1.99, not $2. $2, people won't pay that. $1.99. Now you can advertise it's less than $2, and now people can wrap their head around it and say, okay, $1.99, that's a good deal. It's less than $2.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I think it's true.
I think because it's time, it has to be a square number though of 90. It can't be 99. 99 seconds wouldn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
People be like, why the fuck are we waiting 99 seconds?
Yeah, I also think that 90 seconds it allows people to round up to 2 minutes if they want to. Like people won't round up from 1 minute to a minute, or they won't round up from 60 seconds to 90 seconds. They won't do that, but they will round up like, oh, it's been a minute and a half. I guess I'll give it another 30 seconds.
Or they'll round down and they'll say, oh, okay, so it's like just over a minute.
Actually, that's true as well. That's true as well.
But I think both are very smart. So pretty much, this episode's about I'm a genius. Now think about it like this, right? Sometimes you don't want to go. You want to go with the longer sounding one, right? Well, if you're talking about how good you are and you're bragging, you're being a braggart to the lady or fella you're trying to get with, you're all like, "Man, baby, I can go for 5 minutes." Like, is that a good brag?
Uh, you're telling someone that you can go for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, she
I'm a,
she
I'm
probably
a
won't
freak
be
in the
very.
sack.
Yeah, she won't be very impressed. Most likely, unless that's what she wants. I mean, every girl is
What
different.
about? No, that's true. That's true. But I'm just saying, in general, of course, we're talking generalities. 5 minutes. What about 300 seconds? Does it sound better or worse?
That sounds worse. Much, much worse.
You'll count every second. All 300 of them.
Well, yeah, you'll be like, okay, 59, 58. Oh God, he came already. Like, but if you
Not
say
as advertised.
if you say 5 minutes and it's like been 4 minutes and 22 seconds, you're like, okay, that's about 5 minutes. He was right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what if you say 1/20th of an hour? That sounds great.
Does it?
Wow, he lasts so long it's measurable on the hour scale. 1/20th of an hour. Wow.
See, I think the problem with 1/20th of an hour is you kind of like it kind of fools your brain for a second, but there's a cognitive part of your brain that's like, he's trying to get one over on me here. Let me calculate this out. 1/20th times 60 is 300 seconds. Fuck.
Now they're measuring it in seconds. Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying that 1/20th of an hour is such a weird way to phrase it that it would force them to do the math.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like if a salesman comes up to you and starts like saying things and they're trying to sell you something in like a weird term, like a weird way that doesn't quite sound natural. It's like, okay, he's trying to pull something over on me right now. Like, I'm not quite sure what it is, but usually we say this right here, but now he's saying this. It doesn't sound
Like,
natural.
buy 11 months, get 16 days free. Like, wait, what?
That's awkward. That's very awkward.
By the way, I've never liked those, like, buy 11 months, get a month free. Because February shouldn't count. Why should I get February free? That's not a full month.
Why are you assuming? Why are you assuming you'd be starting on February or January or whatever?
Well, I'm just saying, like, you shouldn't. February should be defaulted as not involved.
February should just be like a prohibited month.
Well, it should be one of the 31-day months. You should be like, I know technically you're starting here in March. Like, February would be your free month. How about you go ahead and pay for February? We'll give you March free.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna be a little bit of a detour for a second, but I'm not sure if you heard about this, but there's alternate calendar arrangements that people have been trying to kind of get into practice for a while, and there's two main ones. I don't know how they work exactly, but essentially the I think it's like 25 days or I don't know, some amount of days like fixed for each month and does not change and on like a 6-day or 7-day week basis. And it's like that for every single month. So every single month, like every day falls on the same kind of day. So the first is always a Sunday, and then the second is always a Tuesday. And it's like that across the board. And I think with one of them, the math works out so that every calendar month is the same except for the very last month. And the very last month has one extra day because it's day before New Year's, which is easy to remember. I think that would be a much better way of organizing our time with like calendars than what we have right now.
Definitely. Why you got to add that extra day to the last month though?
Well, because you need 365 days in the year, and the way the math works out, it's like 365 divided by I think it's like 8 or something. It doesn't quite divide into that. I think it's 364, and you need one extra day to make it 365.
All right, here's my idea. We have 5 days a week, 1 week per month. Get rid of weeks altogether. 5 days per month, 73 months. Oh, we're in happy 4th January.
No, because then you would have to memorize like all the different months. It's like, oh, hey, we're in January. Like,
well, that's what's your problem with anniversary?
I mean,
that's my birthday.
It's hard to pronounce, and yeah. Also, that's the other thing. People would be like, "Well, I was born in Saquatishiri," and it's like, you're making up names, bitch. Like, well, no. Look at the calendar. Another further issue would be that it would waste a lot of paper because now we only require like 12 sheets of paper for a calendar. I mean, I got 12 sheets of paper for a full calendar if you count it folded and everything. But if you had 72 months, somebody said 72 months, that would be 72 pieces of paper. That's terrible.
73. How about this? 73 days per month, and you only got 5 months a year. Think of the paper we'd be saving.
Well, the problem with that is that it's like you dirty is a good number because it's like you can kind of watch the days go by. Like I like how it's divided up. Like 7 days in a week, you can watch days go by, and it kind of has a nice time frame to like, oh, the week's over, right? Like you can kind of say that, and it feels like it's been something. It feels like it's measurable. If the weeks are long enough, it's kind of like I can't really measure this. A month is measurable. You can feel like a month going by, but 72 days. Or how many?
How about this? 36 and a half days per month, 10 months.
Fuck you.
Deal?
Fuck you. No.
Yeah, that's how it's gonna be, Nate.
I'm not doing this. I'm serious. I'm not doing this. That month schedule is
I will leave.
Abhorrent.
I'll leave you. I'll leave your months alone, Nate. Not my month.
I brought up something I was passionate about, and this passion has now.
# not my calendar. Another thing I know you're passionate about is Einstein's theory of relativity. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that time I figured out Einstein's theory of relativity and pitched it to you? And you were like, there's this new thing I thought of. What if blah, 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 blah. And you're like, Steve, that's Einstein's theory of relativity.
It's like you kind of just came up with it. Like I asked some questions, like get you to explain it further. And you kind of had it down. I mean, not the mathematics or anything, but the basic concept of it. It's like,
oh, damn it, Einstein. Einstein always steals my... What if I'm a time traveler and I actually went back in time and was Einstein?
Well, I mean, we're all time travelers, Steve. I mean, we're traveling through time right now. That's a better. That was
That was my mind exploding.
it was. Oh, well, sorry. You should have just been feeling a burn because that was. But I guess. Okay, yeah, appropriate as well.
I'll put in an explosion sound effect.
I think that was a beautiful explosion sound effect.
Sounded like someone tearing paper.
For anybody out there, if you want like the head of someone crunching, get an apple and just like chew on it into the microphone. It sounds like someone's head cracking.
That's exciting. So what is the perfect amount of time for a podcast? 90 seconds?
90 seconds? Well, no, 90 seconds is not quite enough time. I have an issue with podcasts that are short. Some people like short podcasts. I think like 25 minutes is good for a podcast, which is kind of like a, say, lighter material, but I think it's a good amount for a podcast. But then 45 minutes if it's like a interview or like a in-depth topic or just kind of like a general overview of something. It's like if people want to go in depth into something with that, but some podcasts are like 3 hours and it's like, holy shit, that's like a audiobook right there.
Okay, so 25 minutes is what you propose.
Yeah, 25 minutes for the average podcast. I think is good.
I think there's some science to how long people will listen with ads involved, and you can always put one ad in regardless of how long the video is. But it has to be X amount of time. It's like 10 minutes to have a front and a back ad. And then it needs to be like 20 or 25 minutes to get a mid-roll.
Yeah, I can see the science behind that. I mean, I've been on YouTube before, and there's been like sponsored content on there, and it's like sometimes they have like a 3-minute video, and a minute 30 is saying, hey, how's it going, blah 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 blah, and then it's pitching some product, and then about 15 seconds of the video is actually saying what they came to talk about, and then the last portion of the video is this outro essentially. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe, blah 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 blah. It's like, this was a waste of my time.
Like and comment, smash that subscribe button.
Yeah. But it's good for them though. I mean, if they get views on that and they get product referrals, they are doing a good job. I definitely feel like my sense of time with ads has gotten less and less since I've kind of ditched cable TV and ditched YouTube ads, and since Netflix, all the things that make life great. It's like I can't imagine really going through ads anymore, like full video ads. It's like, why the fuck would anybody do that to themselves?
Oh, you think the day of ads is gone?
I don't think it's gone. I think it's more strictly applied to like circumstances. So if something is specialized, you can kind of force yourself through it. Like Super Bowl, you can watch the ads. I mean, Super Bowl ads are good usually too. But if it's this kind of mundane content and you can't skip ads, like, I think here are the days of cross promotion and embedded ads. So I mean, it's even what we do. So when we do ads, we typically don't just throw in ads from other people. We have before a couple times, but usually we do the ads up ourselves because it keeps people more invested in the product or the content.
Plus, people will always buy an ad if I tell them they need to buy the ad. Buy the product. It's a good product. You want to get a good feel on it.
And most of the podcasts I listen to, like, the ads are done by the person who is doing the podcast, like almost always. And if I ever see an ad which is not done by the podcast, and it's not an ad for another podcast, I'm kind of like, yeah. It's not a gross feeling, but it's like a, oh, okay, I don't want to listen to this right now. Whereas I can kind of put myself through, say, my favorite podcast person or just the podcast person doing the ad themselves.
Now, does that have to do with the I feel like that would have a lot to do with the amount of time that you feel you're investing in something that's unoriginal content. Because when we do an ad, it's original content. Like, you listen to this podcast because you want to hear Meader and Pepin podcast content, right? So if we're doing the ad, then it's still more content from us. It's just we're promoting this thing that we actually really like Listen Notes.
Listen notes. What's that?
Oh, it's the Google of podcasts, of course.
Oh. So it's like if I want to like search a podcast, I can just kind of like go in and find it in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could search the podcast name. You could search a topic that the podcast is about. If you want to hear about virginity stories, type in virginity stories, and I'm sure we'll show up somewhere on that list. It actually searches by episode instead of by entire podcast. Although you can also set it to search by entire podcast if that's what you'd like to do.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty
one
sweet.
issue I kind of have from time to time is I want to check out podcasts. I do some searches and stuff, but I can't quite. It's like I find a podcast, but I don't know what it's about. Like it's not exactly clear on their website. They have a Stitcher and everything, but it's like Stitcher doesn't really say what it's about. The episode descriptions are kind of vague. It's like, oh, what's going on with that? So that's one thing I have an issue with podcasts.
It pretty much puts everything from the podcast all together. So you have all the episodes. You can listen to them right there. You can put together playlists. You can cut up clips if you want to just take a clip and maybe send it to a friend. That works as well. It's like the GIF of audio. It's outstanding. So I mean, if you if you're looking to save some time, since that's our topic here, that would be my suggestion when searching anything podcast related. Check out Listen Notes.
And sometimes I find myself just like wanting to get to know a podcast a little more in depth. A lot of podcasts do have websites, but some of them aren't, that well described. And it's like sometimes I just want to like read about the podcast.
That's funny you say that, Nate. There's actually a project that was just released that is interviewing podcasters themselves. So, I mean, if you want to get to know We Need to Talk or GNA podcast, Games, Nerds, and Alcohol, you can check out the interviews section and you can read about all of these different podcasters, how they started, what their show's about. You can get some technical details about the show and then all of their links on where to find them. And they're also giving advice to new podcasters. So maybe you're thinking about starting a podcast. Great place to check out. There is so much great audio information on there. And actually, Nate, a piece of information that I haven't talked to you about before is something that we're going to start implementing as of this episode. And that was that a guy suggested that you separate the audio tracks, which is something we already do between you and me, but one of the hosts is tilted just a little bit, say 6 to 8% to the left ear, and the other just 6 or 8% to the right. It's not really noticeable, but subconsciously it is, and it actually helps distinguish the voices.
Yeah.
So that's just a little tidbit I got from the interview section of Listen Notes.
Let me check in with Libsyn. We use Libsyn. Because I'm not sure if do they support stereo sound or is it only mono? I know that one of our previous ones was only mono. One of our previous hosts.
I believe they do both.
Okay.
So we could upload it as mono or as stereo.
Okay. I mean, even if it gets uploaded as stereo and it gets converted down to mono, it still sounds fine. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely implement.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, there's just a wealth of information. I'd actually be kind of interested to see what Listen Notes has on time. If we typed in time, is there a podcast just about time?
Well, we have time travel.
That's true. Our episode would show up on there when we talked about time travel with the SHITBAG Supreme.
SHITBAG Supreme, Gideon
himself, the man, the myth, the
SHITBAG
legend.
Supreme, Gideon.
I don't even know if he's real. I think we made him up.
I miss Gideon.
I miss Gideon too. He'll be on again soon, I'm sure.
Gideon, we love you. We talk about you a lot. A little too much. Please come back to us.
Gideon, we need to talk. Is that the ending?
No, that's not the ending. Meader,
What's
I'm gonna
it,
give you
a fake
90.
ending?
Yeah, it's a fake ending because you know why?
Why?
I'm gonna give you 90 seconds.
Oh, to guess?
No, promote.
To promote what?
Where are we?
Well, I'm in my house right now. I assume you're in your apartment complex.
We're at twitter.com/WNTT1, facebook.com/We Need to Talk Show, and also we have a Patreon, and you can donate to us there. That would be very, very much appreciated. And also, if you have any episode suggestions, definitely leave us a comment. We reply to all of our comments. You can even send us an email if you want to. I mean, you can find it somewhere. But you can send us an email. But Facebook, Twitter, those are both places to get at us. And let us know. What do you think? What do you want us to talk about? Do you want to talk to us? Well, if you do, we have a Patreon. You can donate there. And if you donate a certain level, you can actually be on the episode with us. That sounds pretty exciting.
There's actually, we have a YouTube as well, and that's where we got a recent submission of a topic idea that we will be talking about in the future. So stay tuned for that.
Was it pandas?
No, but now I'm writing that one down. We're talking about that.
Okay, no more fake out. Steve, Meader, pandas, we need to talk. Hey, if you like this content, check out our friends at GNA Podcast. Find them in the description or on Facebook at GNA Podcast. You'll love them as much as we do.